All right, so we're diving into the world of job hunting in 2025, and we've got this like stag of articles from The Guardian, all about how to snag that dream job.
Yeah, they cover everything from CV tips to interview secrets, really practical stuff, especially with how competitive the job market is right now.
Exactly. So we're going to sift through all these articles and pull out the golden nuggets, those
Absolutely.
actionable tips that can make you really stand out.
Yeah,
And who knows, we might even stumble upon a few surprises along the way.
I think we will.
First up, let's tackle the application game itself. It's not just about applying to any job, right?
Right. Yeah, it's about applying to the right jobs. The ones where your skills and experience really shine. Like
Real.
James Reed, the CEO of Reed, really emphasizes this, especially in this competitive job market.
Makes sense. And this is where self-awareness becomes super crucial, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. You've got to really take stock of your strengths, what you enjoy doing, and then align those with the job requirements.
I totally agree with that.
So yeah, it's quality over quantity, like Reed suggests.
Okay, so another interesting point Reed makes is about CV length. One page is the sweet spot, he says. Think greatest hits of your career, not a novel.
Yeah, and that can be tough. But highlighting only the most relevant skills and experience for the specific job, it makes your CV way more impactful.
Right. And I bet it prevents recruiters from feeling like overwhelmed by a wall of text.
Oh, for sure.
But here's a statistic that kind of made me cringe. 40% of CVs screened by Reed's business, they contain errors.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know, it's almost half.
Yeah.
So yeah, accuracy and attention to detail, they're absolutely crucial.
Oh, they're paramount. It's not just about getting the information right, but also about presenting it in a way that's like clear, error-free, and easy for recruiters to actually, digest.
Exactly. And one thing I've noticed is that people often fall into the trap of just like stating they're a great communicator or a team
Yeah.
player, without any real evidence.
Right. Career coach Corrine Mills, she points this out as a big pitfall because it's far more impactful to show your skills through like concrete examples and quantifiable achievements.
So give us an example.
Instead of just saying, I'm a great communicator, you could say something like, I successfully pitched a new product idea to a panel of executives. Or like, I led a team of 10 through this really complex software development project.
I see. So instead of just saying I'm a team player, you actually give a concrete example of your teamwork skills.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Those kinds of statements paint a much clearer picture of what you can actually do and the value you bring.
Yeah, and there's this psychologist, Dr. Rob Young, who suggests even creating dedicated sections on your CV for key skills mentioned in the job description, like, teamwork or problem solving.
Yeah, and then you fill those sections with specific examples of your accomplishments. It shows you've actually thought about the role and how your skills match up. You're not just like, declaring, you're demonstrating.
Right. It's like checking all the boxes in a way that's really easy for recruiters to see.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our concise, error-free, achievement-packed CV. But here's the thing. We're in 2025, right? So how do we balance appealing to those applicant tracking systems, those ATS things, the ones that love keywords?
Right.
But we also need to come across as, like an actual human being.
Right, it's a challenge. Mills actually addresses this. She says you need to be robotic on some level to get past those algorithms. But you also got to showcase your personality, tell your story.
So it's finding that sweet spot between keyword optimization and authentic storytelling.
Yeah. You want to use keywords strategically, but weave them into a compelling narrative that shows off your unique skills and experiences. You got to show both your technical competence and that human touch.
And there's this former recruiter, Sarah Goulet, who cautions against relying solely on AI to create your CV.
Really?
Yeah, while AI can be great for grammar and formatting and even suggesting keywords, it's that authentic human voice that really helps you stand out.
I can see that.
So AI can be a tool, but it shouldn't replace your own thinking and storytelling,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, definitely. Don't fall into the trap of using generic AI-generated content. It's going to lack that depth and personality.
Exactly. So let's talk about word choice. Reed, he suggests using active verbs on your CV. Words like delivered, led, or built.
Yeah, I like words like spearheaded, optimized, innovated.
Ooh, I like those.
They really convey that sense of proactivity and impact.
Yeah.
But, beyond just choosing strong verbs, you got to quantify your accomplishments. Like, how did your actions actually make a difference?
So it's not just I led a project.
Yeah.
It's I led a project that increased customer satisfaction by 20%.
Exactly. Quantifying your impact shows recruiters the value you bring.
And it helps you avoid those vague cliches like seeking a new challenge or team player that don't actually tell us anything specific.
Right, show, don't tell.
Okay, now that we've kind of mastered the CV, are you ready to move beyond the page? Let's talk about LinkedIn. Mills says you need a LinkedIn profile. It's like your online storefront, place to show off your expertise and build your brand. Love it or hate it, you need it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Recruiters definitely use it to verify information and learn more about you. They want to see your professional presence.
So make sure it's consistent with your CV and highlights those relevant skills and experiences. Share insightful content, participate in discussions, connect with people.
Yeah, show that you're engaged.
And don't forget about that profile picture.
Oh, right.
Zule emphasizes the importance of a professional yet approachable picture. It's that first impression.
It is. And we should also mention the rise of like AI-generated content on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, Fennell warns about this.
Yeah, some AI tools can be helpful,
Mhm.
but be careful about authenticity and spreading misinformation, you know?
Right. Always double check your sources and be mindful of what you share. Okay, ready for another potentially dreaded task. Cover letters.
Are those still relevant?
They are, actually. Mills says recruiters love them, even when they aren't required.
So they're not just a formality.
Not at all. They give you a chance to showcase your personality and show you're genuinely interested. You can tailor your application to that specific company and role.
Okay, that makes sense. You connect the dots between your CV and the job description.
Exactly. All right, so we've covered creating a standout CV, navigating LinkedIn, and even tackling those cover letters. But what happens when you actually land an interview? Things get real then.
That's where it all comes together.
That's where the real pressure is. So that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so you've nailed that CV. Your LinkedIn profile is sparkling, and you've even conquered the cover letter. Now comes the big one, the interview.
Yeah, interviews. They can be pretty nerve-wracking even for people who've done like a ton of them. Any advice on how to stay calm and collected when the pressure's on?
Well, Reed, he really stresses the importance of just being yourself. The clearer you are about your own goals and what motivates you, the more confident you'll come across. It's not about putting on this big show.
Yeah.
It's about showing your genuine self, and that passion for what you do.
Right. And if you really believe in what you're saying, it's going to come across way more convincingly. But what about those of us who aren't naturally like extroverted?
Yeah.
Can you still nail an interview even if you're not the most charismatic person in the room?
Oh, absolutely. Corinne Mills, she actually says you don't need to be like this master of charisma to do well in an interview.
Okay.
Preparation and a strong understanding of the role, those are way more valuable than just like a dazzling personality.
So substance over style.
Exactly.
That's reassuring, especially for us introverts. So speaking of preparation, Reed mentions that most interviews basically boil down to variations of like 15 core questions.
Yeah, he does.
That feels a bit more manageable, like
Yeah.
15.
It does, yeah. Questions like, tell me about yourself. Or, those classic ones like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Those are almost guaranteed to come up. So if you prepare like thoughtful answers to those common questions, you're going to feel a lot more confident, less likely to be thrown off.
Right, and I think Julie, she recommends using the STAR method, right, to structure your answers.
Yeah.
Situation, task, action, result. It's like a good way to keep your answers concise and have a good impact.
It is. It helps you tell a compelling story about your experiences, focusing on, what you actually did and the results you achieved.
Okay.
So instead of just rambling or getting lost in these, tangents, you can deliver these focused answers that really showcase your skills.
So for example, if they ask you to describe a time you faced a challenge, you could walk them through the specific situation.
Yeah.
Using STAR, the task, the actions you took to overcome it, and the positive outcome you achieved.
Right. It gives you a clear structure, helps you stay on track.
Okay. So beyond preparing for those core questions, I imagine it's also important to do your research on the company.
Oh, absolutely. Janelle, she really emphasizes that. Understanding their mission, their culture, their products, like, where they stand in the market. Doing that research shows you're actually interested and you've taken the time to prepare.
Yeah, and LinkedIn can be really useful for that kind of research. You can learn about their recent initiatives, check out the profiles of the people who'll be interviewing you.
Right, get a sense of their vibe.
Exactly. So authenticity, preparation, research, we've covered those. But Fennell also cautions against over-rehearsing. Why is that?
Well, because while preparation is super important, you don't want to sound like a robot, you know,
Right.
or like you're not being sincere. You want to leave room for spontaneity and genuine conversation.
Yeah.
That interview should feel like a natural back and forth, not a rehearsed performance.
So finding that balance between being prepared and being present, I guess. Now, let's talk about those pre-interview jitters. I think it's safe to say everyone gets a bit nervous before an interview,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's natural, right?
Jule, she actually says that feeling nervous is totally normal, even for, seasoned professionals.
Okay.
It shows you care.
Yeah. I like that perspective. Again, it takes the pressure off a bit. Do you have any tips for managing those nerves?
Well, Jule recommends things like deep breathing exercises, visualizing a successful interview,
Okay.
and try to reframe the experience as a conversation, not like an interrogation.
Right.
It can help.
I find that, listening to music, upbeat music, helps me.
Yeah.
Or just going for a walk before an interview can help release some of that nervous energy.
Yeah, find what works for you.
Exactly. And Jung, he reminds us that while those psychological techniques can be helpful, confidence really comes from preparation.
Yeah.
Practicing your answers out loud, ideally with someone who can give you feedback. That can make a big difference.
Yeah. Or even recording yourself on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
You can get a sense of how you come across on camera.
Right. And speaking of cameras, with the rise of remote work, we should probably talk about the challenges of remote interviews
Right.
and automated interviews. Any advice for navigating those virtual spaces?
Well, Mills suggests preparing for those standard interview questions just like you would for an in-person interview.
Okay.
And, it's okay to have some discrete notes on your screen, but be mindful of your eye contact.
Right.
You don't want to look like you're reading from a script.
So it's that balance again, having those reminders, but still maintaining that natural flow.
Exactly. And it's also really important to create that professional impression no matter the setting.
Right.
So Mills, she emphasizes, a professional background, appropriate attire,
Even though you're at home.
even though you're at home.
I've also heard that standing up during video calls can help.
It can, yeah. It improves your posture, you project more confidence. It might feel weird at first, but give it a try.
Okay. So you've made it through the interview. What happens next?
Well, Reed suggests something pretty bold. If you're feeling confident, ask for feedback during the interview.
Wow, during the interview.
Yeah.
That takes guts.
It does, but it shows initiative, and it lets you address any concerns they might have right then and there. It shows you're committed to learning and growing.
Okay. And even if you don't feel comfortable asking for feedback during the interview, it's always a good idea to send a thank you note afterward.
Oh, absolutely. Julia, she recommends that. Just a brief note to reiterate your interest and thank them for their time.
It's a nice touch. Now let's talk about those trickier topics, salary and flexibility.
Yeah.
When's the right time to bring those up?
Fennell, she advises against mentioning them until you actually have a job offer.
Okay.
And then during negotiations, be prepared. Do your market research,
Yeah.
have a clear idea of what you expect and be ready to explain why.
So know your worth. But let's be real. Not every interview is going to lead to a job offer.
I mean,
and rejection, that's just part of the process.
It is.
And it can be really tough to handle.
It can, but it's important to remember that rejection doesn't mean you're a bad applicant. It might just be a mismatch.
Right. Like we talked about earlier, everyone experiences rejection. It's not a reflection on you.
Exactly.
So how can we reframe these setbacks as opportunities for growth?
Okay, so we're back, and we're wrapping up this deep dive into how to land your dream job in this crazy year of 2025.
Yeah. We've talked about crafting that killer CV, how to rock those interviews.
Yeah.
But let's be real, the job hunt, it isn't always easy. Sometimes you put in all that effort and you still face rejection.
It's true. It's a natural part of the process, and it can be really discouraging, especially when, you've put so much of yourself into that application.
It's so easy to kind of start doubting yourself,
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
How can we deal with that disappointment and come back stronger?
Well, Reed has some great advice here.
Okay.
He says don't get too down on yourself when you get a rejection. There are often so many people applying for the same role.
Right.
And you're not always going to be the perfect fit.
Yeah. I think it helps to remember that it's not always about being like the best candidate on paper.
Right.
It's about finding that right match.
Exactly. Reed even talks about the jobs he didn't get early in his career, and he recognizes that he probably wasn't the right fit for them.
Okay? Sometimes rejection just means there's something else out there that's a better fit.
Yeah, like a course correction.
Yeah, I like that. It's like you're being guided towards something that's truly aligned with you.
To your skills and what you want to achieve. So how can we turn those rejections into something positive?
One thing you can do is ask for feedback from the interviewers
Okay.
if they're willing to share, of
Yeah.
course.
Their insights might help you see things you could improve or just give you a different perspective.
Yeah. Even if you don't get specific feedback, just taking some time to reflect on the experience can be helpful.
Absolutely.
Like, what went well?
Right.
What could I maybe do differently next time?
It's about using each experience as a way to get better,
Yeah.
to refine those skills, to hone your message, and just to get a better understanding of what you really want.
It sounds like resilience and self-awareness are super important in this whole job hunt process.
They really are. And remember, everyone gets rejected at some point. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It's just a step on the path to finding that right fit.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to just be yourself. Let your personality come through in your CV, on your LinkedIn, in those interviews.
Okay.
Be genuine, be enthusiastic, be you.
Yeah. And never underestimate the power of preparation. Research the company, practice those answers, be ready to really show what you can do.
And remember, the job hunt, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's going to have ups and downs, but if you have the right attitude, the right approach, you can get there. This deep dive, it's just the start. Now it's up to you to take these insights and make them work for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think this conversation has been really insightful, and I hope our listeners feel empowered now to go out there and get that dream job.
Yeah. Good luck on your journey.
Good luck.
And remember, believe in yourself. You got this.